Implementing failover clustering. Now, implementing failover clustering. Failover clustering we use for failover application, like which we have an application which we want to run every time, but we can't depend on the hardware of the servers. Then we can configure it in failover cluster. Before failover cluster, we should plan the failover cluster properly, prepare to implement the failover cluster. Failover cluster storage we have to implement first, then storage hardware requirement for a failover cluster implementation we have to take it into note. Then network requirements for a failover cluster, verify the network adapters, infrastructure and software requirements, security consideration, quorum, and planning for the migration and upgrading failover cluster. Now first, preparing to implement the failover cluster. Features of failover cluster includes, what is the features of failover cluster? First, high availability. We configure failover cluster for getting high availability for the applications. Now remember, suppose we are having some application which is very important for us, and we want that application to run every time. We can't afford downtime for that application. So what we can do, if we install on that we install the application into a single server, it will work. But if suppose the server get down, maybe because it is a hardware, so it can have a hardware problem. So if suppose the server goes down, then what, our application will also go down. Now to save this, what we can do, we can configure the failover cluster. Now this failover cluster do what? It will provide the high availability for the application. And what it will do, if the one server goes down, the application will automatically move to other server. So failover cluster we do what? We combine multiple servers together, and we configure the cluster among those. We configure the cluster using all those multiple servers. So if suppose one server goes down, then our services will still be available from the other servers. So our application is not depend on single server. We can configure multiple servers to support that application. That application, which is a stateful application, we can support. It is supported under the cluster, failover cluster, and also the IP-based protocols. So all those applications which is configured on the IP-based protocols can also be configured on this failover clustering. Now first we have to prepare to configure or implement the failover clustering, and for that we have to consider these following guidelines when planning the node capacity in a failover cluster. Now node means what? In a cluster, when we use multiple servers, so those different servers are called nodes. So this is a guideline first to implement the failover cluster nodes. First, distribute the highly available application from a failed node. That means if suppose one node is failed, so you should able to distribute the application, highly available application. That is very critical for us to make sure we distribute that application from the failed node to the node which is running. Ensure that each node has sufficient capacity. Now when we are moving the application from one server to other server, so all those servers must have a sufficient capacity to manage that applications. Then use hardware with similar capacity for all nodes in a cluster. So good idea, it is a good idea or good practice to use the same hardware, similar hardware for all the nodes, so that if an application move from one server to other server, so it will not face any problem. It will easy for the application to move from one server to other server. Then failover cluster storage. Storage is also very important. Remember, failover cluster requires shared storage to provide the consistent data to a viral server after failover, virtual server after failover. Now we need shared storage. Why? Because if suppose we configure any application, so that application requires the storage. Every application requires the storage. Now if suppose we store the storage into the same server where we are configuring the application, now if that server goes down, the application will move to the other server in a cluster, but the storage of that application will remain at that server, and that server is not working. So what happened, even the application is moved to other server, is still that server, the application storage is not available, and because of that the application may not work. So because of that, in failover cluster we have to have a shared storage, so that whenever we configure any application, we store the storage of that application into this shared storage. The shared storage which is connected to all the nodes in a cluster, so that if suppose one server goes down, so the application will move on to other server, and still it can get the storage because the storage share storage. So it will get the storage from the shared storage and application will run. So because the application storage is on shared storage, this server can run the application, and other server goes down, still we can have an application from the other server, because it is still getting the storage from the shared storage. Now the shared storage options we have the SAS serial attached storage that is directly connected to both the servers through the serial cables. We can use the iSCSI which is shared on the network, like the IP network, existing LAN network. We can configure the shared storage using iSCSI. Then we can use the fiber channel share, that is a SAN network, storage area network. We can use by configuring the fiber channel. We can use the shared VHD also, shared virtual disk. We can use a virtual disk which is shared by the both the servers also, if the servers are virtual. If suppose we are using the nodes as a virtual servers, so we can use the shared VHD also. That means these nodes of the clusters are virtual, so they use what they will use the virtual hard disk. So what we can do, we can use a shared virtual hard disk among all these servers. Then we can use the scale out file server also. File server, that means we can configure the file server and share the directory from there, and that directory will use to store the application for these servers. So basically what we do, we configure the application on this on the cluster, and the storage of that application we will store it into the file server. That means share folder. So we have these options which we can use. Now share folders does not support much applications, but we can configure now in Server 2016. We can configure the application based share folder, and that application based, like some virtual we can store the virtual machine into that share folders. We can have SMB share. We can have SMB share where we can store virtual machine data and some other applications also. So if we are configuring those applications in cluster, so we can store the data into share folder, SMB share, by using the scale out file server. You can also implement clustered storage space to achieve high availability at the storage level. Now when we are configuring the storage for the cluster, we can do what? We can configure the storage spaces also. Just like we configure the storage spaces in a local server, we can also configure the storage spaces by combining the multiple shared storage with the in a failover cluster. Storage spaces, that means we can configure the strip volume, we can configure the mirror volume, we can also configure the parity volume, that RAID 5 volume. That is what the storage spaces. So if suppose we are having suppose I want to configure the mirror volume, so for mirror volume I need at least 2 physical storage. So what I will do, I will use any of these 2 shared storage, and combining those 2 shared storage I can configure the storage spaces, and in storage spaces I can configure the mirror volume. So it will give me the high availability for the storage also, and that is storage which is available for the cluster. Now for configuring the failover cluster, we should consider the hardware requirements also. The hardware requirement for a failover implement these in you must use server hardware that is certified for Windows Server. So if we are configuring this failover cluster, we configuring it in Windows servers. So the hardware which is we are using, the servers which is we are using as a node, that must be certified as a Windows server for the Windows server. Then server nodes should all have the same configuration and contain the same or similar components. So all the nodes we can have, or we should have in the same configuration of hardware, and also we should use the same similar components. Then all server must pass the test in the validate a configuration wizard. Now when we start the configuration of failover cluster, so before configuring the failover cluster, we can validate the configuration. So for that we have this validate a configuration wizard, where we can check all the nodes before configuring the cluster. We can check all the nodes and configurations if we have done the configuration properly and rightly or not. So if we have done anything wrong, then this wizard will give us the error or information that this is not properly configured and these nodes are not there, it's not proper or not supporting the failover cluster. So before configuring the cluster, we can test the cluster configuration by using this validate a configuration wizard. Then network requirement for a failover cluster implementation. The network requirements for the failover clusters are like your server should connect to multiple networks to ensure the communication redundancy, or it should connect to a single network with redundant hardware to remove single point of failure. That means either your network, your servers in the cluster, whatever the servers you are having, they must be connected to multiple networks. Multiple networks, that means it should be connected to separate multiple networks. So if suppose one network goes down, then it can have a connectivity from the other network. Or if suppose it is connected to a single network, so it should have a multiple network adapters in a single server, so that if one adapter, physical adapter fails, then it can still be connected through the other adapter. All over, what we can say is that we should have a redundant network for the cluster, so that it will not have a single point of failure. So if suppose we are configuring the failover cluster, we are using multiple servers but the network is same, then no point of using the cluster. If suppose the network goes down, no matter how many clustered nodes you have, the application will go down. Then you should ensure that the network adapters are identical and that they have the same IP protocol version, speed, duplex and flow control capabilities. So also we should have the same network adapters with the same capabilities, so that when the network goes down, one network goes down, it can go from the other adapter. Your network adapter should be compatible with receive side scaling and remote direct memory access also. These two features must be supported in your network adapter also. And that we can check by running this command. So we can run this command to check that our network adapters are supporting these features or not. Normally the latest adapters what we have, they support these. So these features are supported in all these latest adapters what we have. We can check this by running these commands. Let's check it in our server. So this is our server. I will open the PowerShell here. Now we will run the command to check get SMB server network interface. And when we run this, we can see that this is true. It is RSS capable. That means it is supporting this. Other command is also like get network getNet adapter RSS, and the adapter name. Adapter name is Ethernet here. Okay, what is my adapter name? Let's check the adapter name first. Okay, adapter name is Ethernet 0. So I will mention this Ethernet 0, and it says that it supports RSS and it is enabled here. Enable is equal to true, so it supports this, so we can use this adapter for the failover cluster. Okay, now the infrastructure and software requirement for a failover cluster. So the infrastructure requirement for the failover clusters are: we should have Active Directory domain controller, should run Windows Server 2008 or newer. So we should have Windows Server Active Directory installed, and Active Directory Server's domain controller is there, and with minimum of Server 2008, or we can have newer version of that, like 2008 R2, 2012, 2012 R2, and 2016. Domain functional level and forest functional level should run Windows 2008 or newer. Now domain functional level and forest functional levels are decides that in the forest or in the domain which kind of like when we say the forest function level. So suppose when we have the forest functional level as a Windows Server 2008, that means in the forest we can have a domains of Windows Server 2008, Windows Server 2008 R2, Windows Server 2012, 2012 R2, and 2016 also. But if suppose the forest level is Windows, this domain forest functional level for the Active Directory is set to 2016, then we can only have 2016 domains in our forest. So this forest function level decides the features, the level of functionality which we have in the forest, and same as in the domain. So in the domain also, if we are having the servers level of 2008, then we can have a domain controllers in the same domain of at least 2008. Or if we have the domain functional level set to 2016, then we can only have 2016 servers in the domain. We cannot have the other domains as a domain controller. The application must support Windows Server 2016 high availability. So the applications, which is important, like we are configuring the cluster for the applications. Now that application must support the Server 2016 high availability. Then the software best practices for the failover cluster implementation requires that all nodes have the same edition of Server 2016 and same service pack and updates. That means whenever we are using the Server 2016, so they must be in the same edition, like either it is data center or standard edition, and also they should have a same service pack and updates level. Okay, then next is a security consideration. Security consideration for failover clustering includes that you must provide a method for authentication and authorization, and that we can do it from the Active Directory. Then ensure that the authorized users do not have physical access to failover clusters node. For making it secure, you should use that unauthorized user should not have any physical access. Then ensure that you use the anti-malware softwares also. Then ensure that your intra-cluster communication authenticates with Kerberos version 5. That is we use in Windows Server 2016. Kerberos protocol version 5. It's a protocol to use for the authentication. Now if you use an Active Directory detached cluster, now we have option to configure the cluster without Active Directory. So if we are not using the Active Directory, we are just using Windows Server 2016 to configure the cluster, we can do that. It is called Active Directory detached cluster, which does not depend anything on Active Directory. Now this, if we using this, then ADDS objects for the network names are not created. Now because the Active Directory and the domain names are same, we can say connected. So if we are not using it, so ADDS objects for the network names are not created. So Active Directory name for the objects of the cluster will not be created. then cluster network name that you registered in the DNS is not necessary to create new objects in Active Directory services. So if we are using a cluster which is not connected to Active Directory, so the cluster name, when we create the cluster, so the name for the cluster will be registered in the DNS, but it is not used for the Active Directory. We do not recommend these for any scenario that requires Kerberos authentication. Now if you require the Kerberos authentication, then you should use the Active Directory connected. If you use detached, then you will not get the Kerberos authentication. So it is not recommended to use it. Now you must run Windows Server 2012 R2 or newer version on all the cluster nodes to configure the Active Directory detached cluster. So if you want to configure it, you should have at least Windows Server 2000 R2 edition. Then security consideration for Windows Server 2016. Now 2016 introduces several cluster types, and which one you use depends on your domain membership scenario. So in Server 2016 it provides multiple type of the clusters. What you use, it depends on your domain membership. So first is a single domain cluster. In the single domain cluster, in this type of cluster, cluster nodes are member of the same domain. So all the clusters all the nodes we use in the cluster, they will remain in the single domain. Now workgroup cluster, we can have workgroup cluster. In this type of cluster, cluster nodes are not joined to the domain. They will remain in the workgroup. That is what the domain detach, Active Directory detached cluster. That means that cluster nodes are not the member of the domain. They are not in the domain, or maybe we are not having Active Directory. So all the cluster nodes are remain in the workgroup. They remain in the workgroup. That means they are not member of the Active Directory domain, and we can configure the cluster. Then multi-domain clusters also we can have. In this type of cluster, cluster nodes are members of the different domains. Now if suppose we are having a forest, in the forest we have multiple domains, so we can have nodes which is members of the different domains, and still we can join them to create a single cluster, and it is called multi-domain cluster. Then workgroup and domain cluster, where in this type of cluster nodes are members of the domains and members of the that are not joined to the domain, that will be on workgroup. So we can have a cluster nodes which is a member of the domain and also not the member of the domain. So we can have both the type of nodes, and we can join them to create a single cluster. So these are the different types of cluster we have in Server 2016: single domain, workgroup cluster, and multi-domain, and also workgroup and domain clusters. Okay, now planning for migrating and upgrading failover clusters. The upgrade steps for each node in the cluster include: pause the cluster node and drain all cluster resources. Now when we are upgrading the clusters, now upgrading means whatever we are doing, like upgrading the software or hardware, we have to do what? We have to pause the cluster node, we have to stop the cluster node, and then we have to drain all the cluster resources. That means we have to remove all the applications what is running on that cluster, to remove it so that we can upgrade it. Then migrate the cluster resources to another node in the cluster. And then what we do, we should migrate all the resources which is there in the cluster, that particular node which we want to upgrade, we should move it to other cluster node. Then replace the cluster node operating system with Windows Server 2016 and add the node back to the cluster. So we upgrade the Windows Server 2000, any edition like 12 or 8, and then we upgrade it to Server 2016, and then we do what? Add the node back to the cluster. So we can do the upgrade. Now upgraded all nodes to the Windows Server 2016 and run the command line update cluster functional level to increase the functional level of the cluster. So if suppose we are using the old versions of server, like we are using Server 2012 and the cluster is already configured, now we just want to upgrade it to Server 2016. So these are the steps we do. So what we do, first pause the cluster, drain all the resources, and migrate the cluster resources to another node. So we have to do it one by one. So one node we move it to other, all the resources to other server, then we replace that server, we upgrade the server, and then we can get back the services to this server. Finally, when we upgrade all the servers in the cluster, then we run this command update the cluster functional level to update the functional level also. Now creating and configuring a new failover cluster. So first we have to make sure the configurations are right. Hardware configuration, then network configurations and the storage configurations. After doing all these, then we go for the validation wizard to check that whether our nodes is able to create the cluster or not. Then the process of creating the failover cluster will start. Then first create a failover cluster, review the setting by validating the wizard, then configuring the roles, then create a general failover file server failover cluster, managing the failover cluster, cluster configuration properties, failover failback, storage, networking, quorum, and configuring the quorum. So first we should do what? We should validate the validation wizard and the cluster support policy to support the requirements. So first we have to configure the storage network which is need for our cluster, and then we will install the cluster feature there. Now this validation wizard, when we open and this cluster support policy requirements, these are like a first validation wizard, it performs a multiple type of tests. So first we have to, when we run the validation wizard to check that our nodes are ready to configure with the cluster, so it will check these all things. It will check the cluster first, it will check inventory, it will check the network settings, it will check the storage setting, it will check the system settings, it will check the system also. So if all these things are rightly configured and it is properly there, then only it will allow us to create the cluster. So before going to configure the cluster, we have to make sure that we have configured these all things properly. We have to configure the cluster, so cluster feature must be installed. Inventory inventories are also there, like the cluster management tool, all that. Network configurations are properly right. Storage configuration must be there, like the shared storage is connected. Then the system settings must be proper. You can perform the validation from the validate configuration wizard or with the test cluster Windows PowerShell command line. So we can check the test cluster command with the PowerShell, and also we can use the validate configuration wizard. Now the process for creating a failover cluster, first we have to install the cluster feature. Failover cluster is a feature, so we have to install that feature first, or in all the nodes where we want to use those nodes into clusters. Then we verify the configuration by using the validate configuration wizard, then create a cluster. Install the roles on a cluster node by using the server manager. Now we will install the roles which we want to have in the cluster. We want to use it on the cluster. For example, web server node, DSCP node, DSCP server node role, or DSCP server role, or any other like DNS or any other, or even a virtual machine also. Then we create a clustered application by using the failover cluster management step in, configure the application and test the failover. So first we have to install the failover cluster feature in all the nodes where we want to configure as a cluster. Now before that, before beginning the configuration, we should have to make sure these configurations like the network and storage configuration must be right. Now this is what we are going to do here. Now I have three servers here, server 1 and server 2 and server 3. Now these two servers, server 2 and server 3, I'm going to use and configure the cluster with using these two servers. Now this server 1 is our domain controller. This will be our domain controller, and this is for the authentication. Now these two servers, server 2 and server 3, will be our member of the domain. They don't have Active Directory, they are just a Windows Server 2016 operating system, and we have made them member of our domain. So these are two member servers we have. Now what we need to configure the cluster? First, network requirement. Now network requirements to have, we should have at least three separate networks. Three separate networks, that means one is dedicated for the storage. That means to connect the shared storage we need a separate network. Then we have a traffic for the heartbeat. Now heartbeat means what? These two servers, or all the servers which we have in the cluster, what they do, they exchange the heartbeats between each other. So this server 2 will send the heartbeat to other server, and server 3 will send the heartbeat to this server. So they are sending the heartbeat to each other in very short time. Now by sending this heartbeat, they do what? It is like saying hello to other. Like server 2 is saying hello to server 3, and server 3 is saying hello to server 2. Now by doing this, they know that the other server is running or not. So if suppose the server 2 say hello to server 3, and if the server 3 does not reply, that means the server 2 assumes that the server 3 is not running. And now what it will do, the server 2 will start taking over all the services running on server 3, and it will start itself, and it will take over all the services. So this heartbeat is important to see that all the servers are running or not. So if the server is not running, the server which is hosting the services or application, so the other server will start the services and application, and it will know by checking the heartbeat. So all the servers in the cluster do send the heartbeat traffic. So they send the heartbeat to each other. So for that we need a separate network. Then for the clients, we should need a separate network for the clients also. That means the clients, when they try to use the services of these clusters, so they should need a separate network for it, so that they can connect and use the services of cluster. Now what we can do, if suppose we are not having three separate networks, then we can combine this heartbeat traffic and the client traffic. We can have both the traffics at the same interface, at the same network, but we cannot combine the storage. Remember, storage must be a separate network. We cannot combine the storage with this heartbeat traffic or client traffic. We must have a separate network for storage. If we don't have, then you will get the error. You will get the error when you start configuring or just check the configuration. If you check the validation, you will see the error. So it is must to have a separate storage network for the storage network, storage connectivity. But we can combine the heartbeat and client traffic. Now the storage requirement. Storage requirement is first that we should have a shared storage, either of any type. We have the SAN storage, fiber channel, we should have iSCSI or share folder, depend on the application, but we must have a shared storage. So for example, we are having the shared storage. So in the shared storage, we need two type of storage. First, we need compulsory storage for the quorum. We need a compulsory storage for the quorum. Now what is quorum? We will discuss it and what it use. So quorum, we need a separate storage. We don't need much storage, like 1 GB is enough for the quorum storage, because it just only for the quorum, it only store the detail of quorums, does not have any data there. So we can have at least 512 MB, but we can go on to have 1 GB, but not more than that. Then we need a data, we need a storage for the data. Now this depends on the application, like how much data we need for the application. So it depends like what application we are installing on the cluster. So because of that application, we can use the storage data storage, whatever the application needs. Now if we have multiple application we want to run, so according to that we can have different data storages for that. If you are using only one application, then you will need one data storage. If you are using two applications, so two data storage, three application, three data storage. So we need these two type of storages available. So at least one quorum and at least one storage for data if we want to configure the application. Now what I am going to do here, I have only 3 servers. Now what I will do, for the storage I am going to use server 1 itself. Here I am going to create the iSCSI disk. One disk I will create for quorum and the other disk I will create for storage. So one disk I will create for quorum and the other disk I will create for data. Now what I will do here, I will connect two adapters in this server 1, server 2, server 3. Both I will connect two adapters. Two network adapters I will use, and both the network adapters I will use for storage and data storage, heartbeat and clients. So what I will use one adapter for storage. So I will connect one adapter. From one adapter I will connect the storage server. Now the storage server itself our Active Directory server. So I will use one adapter to connect to the storage server, that is our domain controller, and I will use a separate network here to connect the storage. Then the other adapter I will use for the clients and heartbeat network. So I will use this adapter, other adapter, to connect to the clients. That means it will connect to the network here. Switch, and then from the switch the other clients will be connected, and these clients can access these cluster services through this network adapter, and the same adapter is going to use for the heartbeat also. So this is what the configuration we are going to do. So we are having server 1, 2 and 3. On server 1 I am going to create the storage for the cluster, and I will add two network adapters on all these servers, in server 1 also, 2 and so also, and 3 also. One network adapter I will use for the storage, and the other adapter I will use for the heartbeat and client traffic. Okay, so let's do this now. Now this is our server 1, and on server 1 I have these two adapters connected. Now one adapter is our this 192.168.0.200. It is in this network. Now this one we are going to use it for the clients and the heartbeat, and the other network I have is about the 10.0.0.1. Now this network I am going to use it for the storage. Now this is server 1. I have these two adapters. Now same I have configured for server 2 and server 3 also. On server 2, this is server 2, we have same two network adapters. One is of 192.168.0 network and one is in 10 network. So this one 10 is going to use it for the storage. Same we have configured on server 3 also. So on server 3 also we have these two adapters. One is for the storage, and one is for the storage, this 10, and the other one is for the clients and heartbeat. Now first I will do what? I will configure the storage for the cluster. Now for configuring the storage, first I'll go to server 1, that is our domain controller, and we are going to share the storage from here by using the iSCSI. So first I will install the iSCSI services here, and then I will share two storages, iSCSI storages, one for the quorum and other one is for the storage data. So let me install first. iSCSI target server, so that we can create the iSCSI storage here. Restart if requires. Okay, now it is going to install the iSCSI here. It is installed, so I close this, and now I will create the storage first. So I will go to file and storage, iSCSI, and I am going to create two storages. So task, new virtual disk, and I am going to create one first. So the first one is going to be for the quorum, so I will use it for the quorum. So I named it as a quorum so that I remember this is for the quorum. Next, now we don't need more than 1 GB, so I am creating as a 1 GB expandable and dynamically expanding. Now here I am going to add the new targets because there is no targets available. So here I will add those two servers here, and the target name also I will mention as a quorum. So I have to add those server 2 and 3 here. So I have to add the initiator name of those servers. So I'm going to add here. Now where I will get those names, I will get it from server 2 and 3. Now on server 2 I will get the initiator name here when we start the service. So from the configurations we get the name here. This is the initiator IQN. So I copy from here, then I will go back to server 1 and I will add here. This is for server 2. Now I will add server 3 also, so that both the servers can access the shared iSCSI share. Now here, now both the names are same, just only server 2 and server 3 is there. So I will change it to server 3 and I will add it. Now I added IQN of both the servers which is we are going to use as a cluster node, server 2 and server 3, so that they can access the shares, this iSCSI share. We'll go next. We can have a authentication also. I'm not going to use it. Next, and create. Now this one is created. Now same as this one, I will create the other one, and the other one is for the data. Now data will be depend on the application we are going to install. So size of the disk, size of this virtual disk will depend on the application we are going to use. So I'm going to create. Now this will be for the data. So I will say data 1. Next. Now this is like for example I'm going to use it for 10 GB. I will create new so that we can know this is different. This is for data 1, and for the target IQN I will add the existing ones, these ones, server 2 and server 3. So both is added here. No authentication and create it. And I will close this. Now we have created the iSCSI storages. Now what we have to do first, we have to connect these storage from both the servers, server 2 and server 3. So make sure that both servers are connected. Then we can go on to configure the cluster. So now I will go to server 2 and 3 and I will connect these shared storages. Now first on server 2, I will do what? I will connect it. So I open the iSCSI initiator and I will give the IP address to connect the target server. Now remember, when you are giving the IP address to connect the iSCSI share, we have to make sure that we will use the IP address which is we have decided, the IP address, the network which we have decided for the storage. We have decided this network, 10.0.0 network. So I will mention the IP address of the server 1, that is 10.0.0.1. That is what we have decided for the storage. So I want to connect these. And also this. So both the storages are connected for quorum and data. Now this is done. Now what I will do, I will go to disk management and I will make sure that it is online. Both the disks are online. So this is the data disk and this is the quorum disk. So first I will online both the disk, make them online, and then I will initialize both the disks, and I will create the volume also. So simple volume, and then I will create the volume for this quorum disk also. Then when we connect it from the server 3, then we don't have to do it again because we have already did it. We just have to make that volume available. That means we just have to make it online. Okay, it is done here on server 2. So we have connected it from server 2, and we have formatted it. We have created the volumes also. Now what I will do, I will go to server 3 now. Now here also I will connect these SCSI storages and then make it available. So I will go to tools and start the iSCSI initiator. And connect this iSCSI target. Now remember, make sure that you are using the IP address, the network which we have decided for storage. So connect both of these and done. And then now we will make it online from disk management. So I'll go to disk management. It is connected, but it will not be available, it will not be online. So as you see, they are offline, so I will make them online. We don't have to create the volumes, it is already there, it is already created, so it is now available. Now we are ready to go for configuration of cluster. We have configured the network properly, we have configured the storages are available. Now we can go for cluster configurations. So first, configuring the cluster, what we have to do, we have to install the cluster feature in all the nodes. In our case, we have server 3 and server 2 as a nodes, so we have to install the feature of failover cluster in both the servers. So first I'm here in server 3, so I will install the feature here. Go to manage, add roles and features. Next. Now it is not under the roles, it is under the features. So under the features we have this failover clustering feature. So I will select this with the management tool, add, and then I will install it. Restart if required, and then I am going to install it. Now it will install the failover clustering feature into server 3. Same I will do it for server 2 also. Okay, it is done here on server 3. So I will go to server 2 and also install the same features. On server 2, manage, add roles and features. And select this, including the management tools. Now it is installing the feature, and it is also installing including the management tool, failover cluster management tools. With the graphical management tool also it is installing the modules for PowerShell, command modules. So we can manage it from command line, from PowerShell, and also we can manage it from the management tool, graphical tool. Now we have installed the feature with the tools in both the servers, server 2 and 3 both. Now we can manage it from either server 2 or server 3, because in both the servers we have the management tool, so we can manage it from server 2 or 3 also. Now if you like, then you can install the management tool in some other server which is not in the cluster. That is also a good practice. That means all the nodes which we are having in the cluster, we don't manage the cluster from that nodes, We can install the management tool in some other server and we can manage the cluster from that server. So we can only install the management tools also. If we like, we can only install the management tools so that we can install the cluster, we can manage the cluster from any other server which is not in the cluster. Right now we will manage it from here, server 2, or even we can manage it from server 3 also. First we have to install it. Okay, now it is installed, so I can close now. Now for managing and creating the clusters, we have a management tool installed in server 2 and 3, so we can either manage it from here on server 2 or server 3. I will manage it, I will start from here, server 2. For configuring the cluster, I will go to tools and here I have failover cluster manager. Now it is starting the failover cluster manager. And here it is. So this is our failover cluster manager. Now first, in this first window we have the overview here. It is saying that no clusters are found because we have not configured any cluster. Now if suppose we have already configured the cluster and it is not showing here, then we can use this command connect to cluster. We can connect the cluster which is already created and we can find the cluster and we can connect it. Right now there is no cluster we have created. So what we can do? We can do first validate the configuration. This is to start the validation wizard and check that all the nodes which we are using it in the cluster are properly configured or not, and all the configuration requirements we have for properly configured or not. Like we have fulfilled the storage requirement, network requirement properly or not, software and hardware requirement both. So it is going to check the hardware requirement, like all the nodes must be in the same configuration, same hardware configuration, same components. Then they must be in the same hardware software level, like the operating system version, upgrade and updates and all. And it is also going to check that whether we have configured the network and storage configuration properly or not. Now if you don't want to validate, then you can directly create. So it is a good idea to first validate the configuration, then go for creating. And if you have already created, so you can go for connect. Now I will first check the validation and I will go for validation. Now when you click on this validation, so it opens this validation wizard. It shows here before you begin, it says that you must be a local administrator on each of the server that you want to validate. So you must be having a right on all the servers. The user which is we are logged in here. So right now we are logged in as a administrator, a domain administrator. So it will have a right on all the servers. So we don't have to check this. It is there. Then if you want to validate the existing failover cluster, you need to know the name of the cluster or one of its nodes. So if you want to validate existing cluster which is already configured, then you should know the name of the cluster or any node, name of the node. If you want to validate a set of unclustered servers, you need to know the names of the servers, and important, the storage connected to the selected servers will be unavailable during the validation test. So the storage, that is the shared storage which is connected to both the servers, server 2 and 3, it is going to be unavailable at the time of the testing. So now we know what we are going to do. So we'll go for next. Now here first we have to mention the servers, the server nodes which we are going to use it in a cluster. So we are going to use server 2 and 3. So I will browse the name here. First server 2 itself. It is checking. It has checked that the role, the feature is installed or not. If you have not installed the feature, it will give error here. Then I will add server 3 here. So it has checked that the feature is, the failover cluster feature is added there. Now it is going to check the other things. Next. Now it is saying, do you want to run all tests which is recommended, or you just want to check some specific things which you want to select. What it is going to do, it is going to examine the cluster configuration, it is going to examine the Hyper-V configurations. If you want to use this cluster for creating the Hyper-V machine, it is going to check the inventories, it is going to check the network configuration, storage configuration, and system configurations. So let's see we have done the configuration right or not. So go on to test it. So this is what it is going to test, and I will say okay, next. Now it will take a little time to test all these things, and you can see what it is testing here right now, and what has passed and what is failed. Till now all the tests are passing, so it is passed. Still it is going on, it is checking the software updates. It is almost finishing. Now. Now the test is completed, and what we got here is an error. What it is saying here, the test has completed for the test you selected. One or more test indicates that the configuration is not suitable for clustering. A cluster solution supported by Microsoft only if you run all cluster validation tests and all tests succeed with or without warning. So if you have tested all the tests, and if you get any warning, without warning, then you can configure the cluster. Now what is the problem here? We can see here these are success. So we can see what is the problem. Now here we have a problem. It is saying the validate compatibility of virtual fiber channel sense or Hyper-V. Okay, it is cancelled. We don't have Hyper-V for sense. Now these are cancelled here, and these are all related to Hyper-V. These are all related to Hyper-V, and these are failed here. Now why these are failed and cancelled? So there is a reason here. It is failed on one server. Let's check the detailed report. We can see the detailed report here. We can see the detailed report. So what we can see here, Hyper-V configurations are failed. So what configurations are failed? I can click on it to see, and this is what it is failed. It says here that validate Hyper-V role installed, that is failed. And because it is failed, it has not checked these settings. These things it has not checked, these are cancelled because this is failed. So why it is failed? So when you check this, so it is saying here the server 2 is having the Hyper-V role installed, but server 3 is not having the Hyper-V installed. So if you want to figure the Hyper-V, then you have to have both server 2 and 3 must installed with Hyper-V role. Now here what is the problem? On server 2 we have the Hyper-V role, but on server 3 we don't have Hyper-V role. So either you install it in both the servers, or you remove it from both the servers. So either you have it or remove it, but you can't have it on one server and you don't have it on other server. You have to have it on both the servers. So what I will do here, I will finish it. I will not create the cluster. I will uninstall the Hyper-V role from this server 2. It is here, it is installed here. I don't want the role right now, so I'm going to remove it for the time being, and then I will configure the cluster. So it will take a little time to remove, so I'm going to remove it now. Okay, it will take a little time to remove, then we will test again. Okay, now the Hyper-V is removed here, and now both the servers don't have Hyper-V, either not on server 2 or server 3. So now I'll going to test it again. So I will open failover cluster manager, and I'm going to validate again. So I will open the validation wizard. Next, I will add server 1 and server 2, server 2 and server 3, server 2, then server 3, and now I'm going to test all the tests. And now again we are running the test, and let's see what it says now. Now it has finished the test, and now what we are ready to create. What it is saying that testing has complete for the test you selected, and you should review the warning in the report. So there is a warning here, but we can create the cluster. It is allowing us to create. There is a small warning there. So if you want to see where is the warning, so let's check. Everything is having a success here. Now there is a small warning here about the software update level. So because the software is not updated properly, like maybe one server is more updated than the other one. So it is giving a warning, but warning is okay. We can still create the cluster. We can go for the detailed report, and we can see we are having here a warning. We are having a warning here for the system configuration. If you click on this, so where is the warning? So warning is here, and it is about the software update level. If you click on it, then you can see the update level here for server 2 and server 3. Server 3 updates are missing for server 3. These updates are there on server 2, but this is missing on server 3. But this is only the update. This update is missing on server 3. So this is only what warning. We can still go on to configure the cluster. It says the cluster validation test has detected these all nodes do not have the same software updates. We recommend that all nodes run the same version of the operating system and install the same software updates. If you have verified that all nodes are consistent, you can ignore this warning. So we can ignore this warning because we can update it later also. So what we can do, if we want to create the cluster, so we can just select this checkbox to create the cluster now. So when you finish it, it will start the cluster creator creation wizard, or you can just close it from right now, and then you can start it from here, create clustering from here. So I want to create the cluster, so I will start creating from here. Create the cluster. Same, it is going to say that what it is need. Then I'll go next. Now here we have to enter the name for our cluster. This will be the name for the cluster. So if you want to configure or access the cluster configuration, then you can access it from this cluster name. No, first this is the server name which you want to add it in the cluster. Now this is what we have already done for the verification, but because we are doing it again, so I'm adding it right now. This is for the cluster nodes here. So I added these server 2 and 3 here. Now here we have to mention the name for the cluster. Name for the cluster, that means the name which we want to configure for the cluster. This name we can use it to connect the cluster, and this name is going to update in the DNS also. So I will mention that this is my cluster 1, or this is my cluster 1, and now we have to mention the IP for this cluster. Now to access the cluster or the services of this cluster, we should have an IP address. Remember, because we are using multiple servers as a cluster, in the cluster, So client will not connect each and every server in the cluster individually. They will connect what? They will connect the cluster itself. And what? The cluster will manage that which node will give the access. So for clients, we need a single IP address. Now we need an IP address. Now what IP address we can use? We can use the IP address from this network. Remember the other network we have, that is for the storage. So we can't use that storage network for the connectivity for the clients. So we have decided this network for the clients and Heartbeat. So we will configure one of the IP from this network. So I will decide one of the IP here, and I'm going to have 250. I will give 250 here. So 192.168.0.250 will be the IP address for our cluster, and this will be the name for our cluster. Next, so this is what we have selected. This is the name for the cluster. These two nodes will be in the cluster. This is connected to Active Directory and DNS, and this is the IP address going to be for the cluster. Now this option says add all eligible storage to the cluster. So the storage is what, like quorum storage and the data storage and any other data storage available for this cluster shared storages. So if it is eligible, then they are all going to be added. Now if you don't want, you want to add it manually, then you can remove this checkbox and then you can add the storages after creating the cluster. I want to add all the eligible storage. We have those two storage, quorum and data. So we're going to add that. Now it is going to configure the cluster. It will take a little time to configure. It is configuring the cluster. Now you have successfully completed the create cluster wizard, and the cluster is created. You can see the report what we have done. We can see the report that what we have configured here. We have configured this cluster with having these two nodes. This is the quorum, this is the IP address, it is registered with DNS, started, completed, and also all these things you can see. Then we can press finish here, and now we can see the cluster is available. So our cluster is now ready here, cluster 1, and here we can see the cluster 1 name with the domain name cluster1.sai.com, and it is registered in the DNS and Active Directory as a machine account, and these are the configuration here. So it is actually available in Active Directory because registered in Active Directory because it is registered Active Directory connected. So if you check the Active Directory server, so this is our domain controller, and if you see the domain controller, if you go to Active Directory, users and computers, so you can see under the computer tabs, under the computer container here, under the computer folder, you can see this is our cluster server name. This is our cluster name, cluster 1. So it is registered in Active Directory as a machine account, and the same account we have in DNS also. DNS is also registered with that, with the IP address. If you see the DNS here, so under the DNS, this is our domain sai.com, and in that we can see the name of the cluster machine here and the IP address of the cluster. So this is Active Directory registered, and it is also added into DNS, so we can access the cluster by using this name or even this IP address also. So this is how we configure the cluster, verify the cluster configuration